I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, we are live and in action. The perfect day to be indoors. It is a little cold and a little rainy for that 1 month of the year in California, so...
I don't know why you try to act like Northern California don't be raining.
It doesn't.
The song goes, "It never rains in Southern California."
Okay, well, it should rain every once in a while. This is just how we keep our wildflowers in bloom.
That's true. I shouldn't say it rains a lot. I will say that, like, you will call yourself going in Northern California thinking you're getting ready to have on a strappy sundress, only to be shocked into realizing you need a cardigan and some sort of jacket situation with that. So.
Yes, I have recommendations for you for when you visit.
Yes, I'm visiting soon. So can't wait. So let's see, what's new? What's up?
What's new? Well, I have, per usual, been making my way through several books at a time.
I thought about it. I said, this is turning into like a mini book.
I know. Well, the thing is, like, that's all I do. I read, like, it's my deep passion. So yes, it's our podcast has evolved into that, and I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it either, because I mean, that makes people realize how well-rounded we are and that we have wellness activities.
Yes, exactly.
At least that's what I tell myself. I'm sorry. So I digress. What were you going to say about it?
Well, I've been wanting to read this book for a very long time. I finished the Sympathizer this weekend. Okay. Are you familiar with that book?
No, who wrote that?
Viet Thanh Nguyen. This book came out in 2015 and won the 2016 Pulitzer.
Okay. The name is sounding familiar from another book.
He's written, he read a sequel to this book, and then he also wrote a memoir. I think it's called Man with Two Faces. I'll have to double check.
Okay. I feel like memoir is what I've heard of.
Yeah, exactly.
But did you love it?
I loved it. I mean, it was really poignant, and I knew that this is why I really wanted to have the time and space to sit with us, because it's historical fiction that's rooted towards the end of the Vietnamese War. And I really wanted to also take the time to really dive into that. So there's a great documentary series on PBS called The Vietnam War.
Okay.
It's a commitment. It's 10 episodes. It's like an hour and a half each.
Oof.
I know. But, for a decade-long war that had such a profound impact on, I could say for myself, my immediate life, many of the men in my family served in that war, including my grandfather, who is a proud Marine. And, it was really the service that he, or the benefits of that service that really kind of changed the social mobility of my family.
Wow.
But at the same time, it's just like there was a deeply flawed and complicated decisions that were made by the United States. And that's putting it very, very kindly.
Yeah.
So felt good to really dive deep into that.
You love you some history. So
this is my new obsession.
That is so you. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. You know what I realized? I moved on to Heaven and Earth grocery store.
Good.
And I was realizing that the tempo and the writing, it just sounded so familiar to me. And I remember I told you I'd heard of something from James McBride, but I was like, what is this sounding like? He has another book that I really loved called Deacon King Kong. Did you read Deacon King Kong?
I haven't read it, but I heard of it. That was another one. I feel like that got some big awards.
My friend Leslie, who's an avid reader, she often suggests books to me. That was one she suggested to me. But, because as you know, I love me an audiobook. It's the same narrator for this one, Heaven and Earth grocery store, and also Deacon King Kong.
Oh.
It's just brilliant the way that he narrates the book. But also, it's not just the narration that sounded familiar. It is the character development.
Yes.
It feels so frenetic and so like crazy that
Mhm.
when you're reading it, you're like, what? Where are you going? Wait, what is it? And
Yes.
then like little like jolts of humor of things
Uh-huh.
that just do not make sense, but like, why is this in here? But that's funny. Like
Yes.
this would have come, except he choked on a pork bun. And I'm like, what? But Deacon King Kong is like that too. And it all takes place in a very narrow, like square footage, like right,
Mhm.
it's this little neighborhood. And similarly, Heaven and Earth grocery store is taking place in this very small place.
Mhm.
But with all of these rich characters and how he like goes down these dives. I'm really, yeah. Now that I realize how many books James McBride has written, I'm like, I'm about to go down that whole rabbit hole.
Yes.
About to go down.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
keep me posted on what you tackle next. But yeah, Heaven and Earth grocery store. That's one I actually intend to go back and read again because it was so good, and I'm like really just in awe of his writing style. Like,
Read Deacon King Kong then.
okay.
Yeah. Because you're gonna read it and you're gonna be like, what? 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 Yeah, it's great. It's great. So can I tell you something really quick that I forgot to say last week?
Okay.
We had as a visiting professor, Dr. Andre Churchwell.
Mm,
Dr. Churchwell is an iconic faculty member and in a leadership role, I think vice chancellor and a chief diversity officer. He's held so many roles at Vanderbilt that is too numerous to count. But he also was at Grady Hospital, our first Black American chief resident in internal medicine.
wow.
But he has a really, I mean, that's just like one blink on the radar of his
Hmm.
career. But he has done really meaningful work in medical education and in the DEI space. And he came back to us for the day on that really wintry Tuesday when the weather was supposed to be really, really bad and all kinds of things were getting canceled. My kids' school got canceled.
Mm,
I spent the entire day not only with him, but he also brought his wife who spent the entire day of the whole visit with us. But she was a Grady nurse, and they met at Grady when she was a nurse. And she had been a nurse for probably 5 or 6 years already when they met when he was in
mm,
residency. I had spent time with Dr. Churchwell before, but man, what a delight it was to be around this smart, amazing woman, and also in the presence of this couple that had been married for over 40 years. And to also just see some aspects of Grady and our department through the lens of a Grady nurse. It
mm.
was dope. It was so dope. The whole experience was amazing. So I just had to say that. Shout out to the Churchwells.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that name just sounds iconic.
All right.
And I love how their story is so baked into the history of this
Mhm.
institution. You
Yeah.
know, given my current history kick, maybe I'll tackle Grady Hospital next.
You should. Yeah, there are some really good books about the history of Grady, so you should check it out.
Absolutely. Well, shout out to the Churchwells. That's such a beautiful story. Well,
I tried to.
now,
I had to hold you off.
yes, now it's time.
Okay.
This is what drew me out of bed this morning. As I'm thinking of the metaphor of like my soul being like parched and needing, the waters of your storytelling ability to relieve my thirst. Is that like too extra, or is that,
I mean, I am extra. I have a friend who calls me guac for short because guacamole is extra everywhere you go. Yeah, no, it's all good. Bring it.
Excellent. Well, without further ado, I could try my hand at more metaphors and poetry, but I think that our audience deserves to hear your voice in this moment. So, sis, what's the what?
The what is pivot.
Pivot. Okay.
Pivot.
You going in one direction and you go somewhere else.
Yep. You go on in one direction and then you just pivot and go in a whole different direction. And not pivot in the way everybody's like, oh, we had to pivot. How everybody talks about in the pandemic. Like we did kind of beat that word to death, but like y'all just put that out of your head for now and let's just move into this story I'm about to tell you. And do you know this is really fresh off of the presses. This is something that happened to me yesterday,
Okay.
less than 24 hours ago. Like that I often do, there is a story within a story, right?
Mhm.
So it was kind of a full circle moment, and I want to share a little bit about it. So the first story starts with yesterday. So yesterday, I had the great honor of being a keynote speaker at a Founders Day event that the Jack and Jill, one of the Atlanta Jack and Jill chapters in sort of the northern suburbs of Atlanta was having. And they invited me to be a speaker. And probably about 150 people there. Really beautiful event. Kind of a um, where people were, dressed up and had fascinators. And it was real cute. It was a real nice event. This is not the chapter that I'm affiliated with, but I know a lot of the mother members. It was cool. And I get seated at this table with their officers and their past presidents and, just waiting to do what I was asked to do. This woman sits beside me and she's younger than me. She's probably about 5 or 6 years my junior. I mean, I live in Atlanta, and if you're Black and educated in Atlanta, I mean, everybody look familiar to you. Be like, people say, "Where do I know you from?" You just start naming stuff. Did you go to Tuskegee? Did you go to Mary? Did you go to my church? Who your mom and them? Are you a Delta? Are you an AKA? Whatever. But she didn't really look that familiar to me. She was nice, kind of reserved. Um, she said she was the treasurer of the chapter. And we
Mm.
made small talk about that. I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to heaven, girl, for that, because we just laughed and talked. So the program goes on. Again, she's not an extremely talkative person, so she's kind of, cool, nice, friendly. And I give my speech, and as you know, I almost never write down what I'm going to say. So
Mhm.
I'll be the first one to hear the speech too. Um, but I'm a sharer, so in my speech, I mentioned a few things that said about my hometown and my training and all these different things. So again, we had been sitting side by side probably for over 2 hours, and I'm getting ready to leave, and she looks at me. She goes, "Can I ask you a question? What is your maiden name?"
Mm.
I said, "My maiden name is Draper," and she just put her hand on her chest. She said, "Oh my goodness." It's so funny. While I was sitting next to you and while you were talking, I was thinking, I know her. But I don't know her through Jack and Jill. I know her. And I was like, oh, okay. She said, I was your medical student um, when you were a third-year resident at Case Western. And I was like, wow. And I looked at her because there were not very many Black students
Mhm.
at Case when I was in residency. I looked at her and then it was almost like a TV show where everything goes like everything rewinds really fast
Mhm.
and then you land and then everything crystallizes.
Mhm.
I said, "Oh my goodness." Now I'm gonna pause there and tell you a little bit more about this person. I actually about 15 years ago really set out to try to find her.
Mm.
All I could remember is that her first name was Tracy. I knew that she had gone to Case Western School of Medicine. Um, and I thought like remotely that maybe she had done peds. So imagine me typing into a Google search engine, Tracy, Case Western, pediatrics. Like, yeah, that is like I didn't know her last name. I
Really
couldn't
narrows it
remember.
down.
Yeah, right. And I
Mhm.
couldn't quite remember her face well or anything like that. But I was really, really trying to find her. Um, and the reason why is because I was in the process of going up for associate professor. And I had been asked to write an essay, a personal statement. And one of the first prompts in our personal statement for going to that next step is tell a little bit at the beginning about your origin story of going into academic medicine. Why did you choose a career in academic medicine? Okay. I was a med peds resident, and our program had a lot of role models that were working in the community, but also kind of touching the residents too. So I always thought that I would go somewhere, hang my shingle, and be a primary care doctor seeing adults and children every day on a schedule. And every now and then, maybe a medical student would come in and shuffle about and get in my way or whatever. Right. Other than that, I never ever thought about, I thought residency would end and then I would
Mhm.
go and be grown. Right.
Wow.
But this young woman, when she was a third year medical student on my team, she was one of the top students in the whole school. And she made a junior AOA, which is Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society, for their like top 3 to 5% of students in a medical school, which, I won't go all into AOA, but child.
Hmm.
So, um, again, she was pretty reserved back then, but she was smart and she was really, really, really competent. And I remembered her. And I remember when I was a resident, that I used to see medical students like sitting in a corner reading pocket medicine. And I would always get them, say, get up. It's too much going on in this hospital for you to be in a corner reading. Come with me. So I always took students with me when I was going to admit patients or whatever. But I didn't think that was teaching. I thought it was just like, come with me,
Hmm. Hmm.
and again, I thought people liked me. Like I thought I was likable. I thought I had good interpersonal skills, but I still never thought of myself as a really good teacher. And she nominated me for honorary induction into AOA. And I had never heard of anybody getting honorary induction into AOA. I'd never heard of that. I just knew that you need to be the top 3 to 5% of your class to make AOA. And I was not that at Meharry. So when I got called to about this, they're like, you are being inducted into AOA, Alpha Omega Alpha. And I said, oh, no, no, I'm not a medical student. I'm a resident. No, no, you've been nominated. The chapter can nominate one resident physician and one faculty member every year. And the students, they chose you.
Wow.
I was like, what? They're like, yeah, this student drove the nomination and you were unanimously selected. I was like, what? So, as surreal as it was, I show up at this event where I get inducted into AOA. And they have the person who nominated you stand up and say something to you, say something about the nomination. So, this now fourth year medical student, early fourth year, late third year medical student stands up and she says, she talks all about how I would go and I would never let students just sit to the side. I always would take time. I would, pull them up and we would do questions together, or I would say, come with me to see this admission, even if they weren't on my team, even if they weren't on medicine. She would just be like, what are you doing? Come with me. And how much the students appreciated me. And at the end of her very short little speech, she looks at me and she says, I have no idea what you have planned for the future, for your future career. I really don't. I don't know what you plan to do, but whatever it is, I hope and pray that it involves medical students because this is your gift.
Mm.
This is your gift. And it would be a shame if you didn't. Until that moment, never, ever had I ever thought about a career in academic medicine. And I credit that moment as the pivot point, the like moment that I decided that I wanted to go into academic medicine. Furthermore, when I finished Med Peds and I took my job at Grady Hospital in internal medicine, I just knew that I was going to be around medical students. And I had even developed a narrative that said, what I know I want to do is I want to be where there's medical students and residents, and I want to take care of people trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents. That's what I know I want to do. I don't care if it's peds, I don't care if it's adults, but I want to be around medical students. And the lion's share of the teaching would have been in internal medicine at Emory, and I wanted to come to Atlanta. So I've tried to find her multiple times, and I don't know people that know her. This woman was in Atlanta all along. She gets seated next to me yesterday at this
Mm.
event. And we were literally like, the event is over, and we are like weeping
Oh my God.
because I'm telling her, I was like, that was a defining moment in my career, what you said to me that day.
Mm.
It's like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me. I was like, no. I've thought about her so many times. And we kind of exchanged some text messages yesterday. And she said some things to me in those text messages that I will save like really forever.
Mm,
If I'm having a bad day, I'm going to pull this text message up and be like, wow. So it just got me thinking a lot about the words we speak over people and how we can speak life into people
hmm.
and how intentional we need to be about our words that we are speaking over people. Because
Yeah.
it was a very strong statement that she made. And I really I could not unhear it. It would be a shame if you didn't. This
Mm,
is your gift. I was like,
mm.
wow, it was dope.
I mean, and I love that for so many reasons because, it came from a medical student. We've talked about this before, but we often feel that, the trainee like mentor relationship is only like one direction.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of power in the mentees as well to shape the future of the folks even that they look up to.
Mhm.
I love that.
And then just serendipity, right? Because
Right.
I have a close friend who's in the chapter too, and she says, Tracy is reserved.
Mm,
I don't know that if she hadn't been sitting beside you, I don't know that she would have come up to you
mm,
and said to you, "Hey, do I know you?" Because when you're the speaker, you get, a whole bunch of people come up to you afterwards and everything. And that clearly was not her style or her personality to do something like that. And it was just, you know, again, like the Grady elders say, God be knowing. And
yes.
I have looked for her. I really haven't thought about her. And I was like, I'm going to send you my personal statement, just so you can know. And I wrote that. I think I went up for associate professor like around 2010 or something like that. It was a
Mhm,
while ago. But I gotta find this woman. But it was huge. So actually what I was just talking to you, I was looking for what she wrote, one of the things she wrote me, and I want
mhm,
to share what she said. She says, I'm still in absolute awe from talking to you today. For me, it's like sitting next to President Obama. I realize now that you might not have known at the time that we all felt that way about you. As Black medical students at Case, we didn't see many Black residents or attendings. Just your existence meant so much, but you couldn't be in a room for more than 30 seconds without us realizing how absolutely extraordinary you are.
mm,
There are physicians who are smart, some who are great with patients, and a few who are great teachers. You are the unicorn who is all three. We loved you, not just the Black students, but especially the Black students. As soon as I found out that I could induct a resident into AOA, I knew it had to be you. At the time, I was one of two Black students in AOA and the only one in my class, so I was prepared to fight, but no fight was needed.
mm,
Every single student who knew you was passionately in favor of your nomination. It was important to me that you received that small recognition, but I never knew that it was impactful to you as well. I figured it would just be something to add to the bottom of your CV. I'm so happy you're still teaching medical students. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. It's difficult to express how much it means.
mm.
And then went on to say, I became a chief resident because of you too. Girl,
Wow.
is that not crazy?
I know you were crying.
Girl, girl, I can't believe I'm telling this story. I think I cried too much yesterday because I just couldn't believe all of it. I couldn't, I think that something had happened with their original speaker and I was asked
Mhm,
kind of late in the game. I was like, sure, I'll do it.
mhm.
I just was like, wow, this is so awesome. And
Yeah.
she's doing great. And I now have her contact information. I was like, you bless me so much.
Ah, that's so good. It's hard to even fathom at this point, like you not being a clinician educator. Like, that pivot point was a God moment for all of us who have, been on the receiving end of your wisdom. As you were talking about her being reserved and, probably would not have come up to you otherwise. I was just gonna say for our folks listening, like I have been with Dr. Manning at conferences and I know her and I don't even want to go up to, like it's just you have to fight back the crowds. I'm just like I'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
So
but I just love that God, since I'm a person who believes in God, but and if you don't, the universe, whatever you believe in, saw fit to line us up in that moment
mhm,
to sit side by side. But also I love that she was obedient to whatever in her made her feel like she needed to do that.
Hmm.
Because picture you being the lonely only um, Black medical student on an AOA in a place like Cleveland, Ohio, back in the 90s. I mean, it's not like everybody's going to listen to you or anything. And she had come from an HBCU. I did
Hmm.
remember that about her too. And it's just like amazing how things that seem so insignificant can be so significant.
Hmm.
And I guess I'm just starting to realize that very little is insignificant.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like even when my friend was like, she's so reserved. I'm so like it's so good that she sat next to you, but I'm like, Ashley is so reserved, and she is one of the people I love the most in this world. But the way for us to be able to meet and connect had to happen at that meeting first, because even if we had been set up to work on Emily's podcast together, it still would not have we needed that first intimate time together
Yeah.
first to be able to sort of build on it. And I'm just I'm feeling very, very grateful for that. And I'm
Mm.
kind of tired, right now.
Mm.
And I felt like so on mission when she told me that. And then and then I became a chief resident.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, look at that.
Yeah.
So the piece I'm saying about very little is insignificant is because, there are some people who have big personalities and whose CVs have long lists of things and who get, retweeted and highlighted in places and who seem like a big deal. But the biggest deals are the really extraordinary, ordinary moments.
Mm.
The most meaningful stuff in my whole career, I cannot put it on my CV. And sitting next to that woman yesterday and receiving that text message from her was better than probably 100 things I have on my CV right now that
Yeah.
probably look shinier and better and prettier to people.
Mm.
It was dope.
I love that. My friends and I were talking about having like a hype up folder, or like, the things that you look back on to like remind yourself, who you are when you're feeling low. It reminds me, I was nominated and, was thrilled to receive a teaching award my first year of faculty. And what was special about this was that it came directly from students.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about this on our podcast before, but like, I got to, what was special was like I got to see what the students wrote,
Mm.
and I got to share that with my grandmother before she died.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like you said, there's nothing better. There's nothing I could do in my career that beats out stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Because you were just being yourself.
mhm.
I wasn't even trying. I think what she said made me realize that what I was doing was teaching.
Mhm.
And like I did not know that I was teaching.
Mhm.
And we even talked about it yesterday. She was like, "Of course you were." She's like, "Teaching is showing up. You
Mm.
were, you were there.
Yeah.
You didn't phone it in. You
Mm.
always did more than a minimum, and you always saw everybody, and you always knew people's names." And I said, "Yeah, but all I knew about you was Tracy Pediatrics at Cleveland."
But
Yeah.
that is so special. Like I love, I mean, like I obviously wish I was there, but you've painted such a beautiful picture in my mind of the moment when you replay the
Oh,
story
really?
and then like meet each other back in that moment
Right.
in time where you
Right.
recognize who each other are. And it's just, that's so
And my
incredible.
eyes immediately, like before I could even explain to her what I was going to tell, what I told you, my eyes immediately welled up with tears, and like tears were already falling out of my eyes. And she was looking like, "Oh my God, what is wrong? What did I do?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I owe so much to you. You changed my entire career trajectory
Mm.
with just one sentence that you chose to say in a room full of people, none of whom look like us."
Mm.
That's banana, just ugh.
Man.
Bananas, bananas, bananas. Mm.
Well, shout out to Tracy, the pediatrician.
Yes,
You know,
Tracy Jimerson, MD. She might have some more stuff on her on there because she was smart. Look, she earned her way into AOA. She didn't just
Some of us need a little help to get there, but
some of us need an honorary. Yeah, but girl, just shout out to speaking life over people.
I'm glad that we have this forum to, highlight the extraordinary, ordinary moments that really shape and move us forward, and might even pivot us in a different direction than where we saw ourselves going.
A whole different direction. Yeah. And God be knowing, and
Mm-hmm.
very little is insignificant, no matter how much we think it is. Well, I'm gonna let you get on to whatever you got going on. It's lunchtime in A, and I'm hungry.
Yeah, I need coffee and to put some clothes on and stuff. So,
Oh yeah, girl. Y'all, she does have on a hoodie, so don't.
it's only to cover the pajamas that are underneath. So yes, I at
All right,
least
sis.
owe you
Well,
that grace.
yes, I appreciate it. And I love you very, very much. And I am so glad that the seemingly insignificant moment of us meeting that day and walking downstairs and having a coffee at that little coffee cart
Mhm.
opened up into a pivot to something really beautiful.
Absolutely. I love it. I love you. And yeah, what more can I say? These moments just make me very, very happy.
Yeah, likewise. All right, sis.
All right. That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!